The biggest feeling is patriotism. No wonder where an Indian lives, but an Indian will always love India. We are blessed to have a right to speak and to be here today only because we are independent. Keep watching to feel the initial taste of freedom and independence. It is something we will cherish until the end. Indian Independence Day is annually celebrated on 15th August as a national holiday in India commemorating the nation's independence from the United Kingdom on 15th August 1947. The day when the provisions of the Indian Independence Act 1947 as passed by the United Kingdom Parliament, which transferred legislative sovereignty to the Indian Constituent Assembly, came into effect. India retained King George VI as head of state until the transition to a full republic, and the Constitution of India 1950 replaced the Dominion prefix. Dominion of India was the enchantment of the sovereign law Constitution of India. India attained independence following the independence movement, noted for largely non-violent resistance and civil disobedience. Independence coincided with the partition of India, in which British India was divided along religious lines into the dominions of India and Pakistan. The partition was accompanied by violent riots and mass casualties, and the displacement of nearly 15 million people due to religious violence. On 15th August 1947, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, raised the Indian national flag above the Lahori Gate and the Red Fort in Delhi. On each subsequent Independence Day, the incumbent Prime Minister customarily raises the flag and gives an address to the nation. The entire event is broadcast by Doordarshan, India's national broadcaster, and usually begins with the shehnai music of Ustad Bismillah Khan. Independence Day is observed throughout India with flag hoisting ceremonies, parades, and cultural events. It is a national holiday. European traders had established outposts in the Indian subcontinent by the 17th century. Through overwhelming military strength, the British East India Company subdued local kingdoms and established themselves as the dominant force by the 18th century. Following the First War of Independence of 1857, the Government of India Act 1858 led the British Crown to assume direct control of India. In the decades following, civic society gradually emerged across India, most notably the Indian National Congress Party, formed in 1885. The period after World War I was marked by British reforms such as the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. But it also witnessed the enactment of the Repressive Revolt Act and calls for self-rule by Indian activists. The discontent of this period crystallized into nationwide non-violent movements of non-cooperation and civil disobedience, led by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. During the 1930s, the reform was gradually legislated by the British. Congress won victories in the resulting elections. The next decade was beset with political turmoil, Indian participation in World War II, the Congress' final push for non-cooperation, and the upsurge of Muslim nationalism led by the All India Muslim League. The escalating political tension was capped by independence in 1947. The jubilation was tempered by the bloody partition of the subcontinent into India and Pakistan. At the 1929 Lahore session of the Indian National Congress, the Purna Swaraj Declaration or Declaration of the Independence of India was promulgated, and 26 January 1930 was declared as Independence Day at that time. The Congress called on people to pledge themselves to civil disobedience and to carry out the Congress instructions issued from time to time until India attained complete independence. Celebration of such an Independence Day was evidenced to stoke nationalistic fervor among Indian citizens and to force the British government to consider granting independence. The Congress observed 26 January as the Independence Day between 1930 and 1946. The celebration was marked by meetings where the attendants took the pledge of independence. Jawaharlal Nehru described in his autobiography that such meetings were peaceful, solemn, and without any speeches or exhortation. Gandhi envisaged that besides the meeting, the day would be spent in doing some constructive work, whether it is penning or service of untouchables, or reunion of Hindus and Muslims, or prohibition work, or even all these together. Following actual independence in 1947, the Constitution of India came into effect on and from 26 January 1950. Since then, 26 January is celebrated as Republic Day. In 1946, the Labour government in Britain, its exchequer exhausted by the recently concluded World War II, realized that it had neither the mandate at home, the international support, nor the reliability of native forces for continuing to control an increasingly restless India. On 20th February 1947, Prime Minister Clement Attlee announced that the British government would grant full self-governance to British India by June 1948 at the latest. The new Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, advanced the date for the transfer of power, believing the continuous contention between the Congress and the Muslim League might lead to a collapse of the interim government. He chose the second anniversary of Japan's surrender in World War II, 15th August, as the date of power transfer. The British government announced on 3rd June 1947 that it had accepted the idea of partitioning British India into two states. The successor governments would be given dominion status and would have an implicit right to secede from the British Commonwealth. The Indian Independence Act 1947 of the Parliament of the United Kingdom partitioned British India into the two new independent dominions of India and Pakistan, including that is now Bangladesh. With effect from 15th August 1947, and granted complete legislative authority upon the respective constituent assemblies of the new countries. The act received royal assent on 18th July 1947. Millions of Muslim, Sikh and Hindu refugees trekked the new drawn borders in the months surrounding independence. In Punjab, where the borders divided the Sikh regions in halves, massive bloodshed followed. In Bengal and Bihar, where Mahatma Gandhi's presence assuaged communal tempers, the violence was mitigated. In all, between 250,000 and 10 lakh people on both sides of the new borders died in violence. While the entire nation was celebrating the Independence Day, Gandhi stayed in Calcutta in an attempt to stem the carnage. On 14th August 1947, the Independence Day of Pakistan, the new dominion of Pakistan came into being. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was sworn in as its first Governor-General in Karachi. Celebration of such an The Constituent Assembly of India met for its fifth session at 11 p.m. on 14th August in the Constitution Hall in New Delhi. The session was chaired by the President Rajendra Prasad. In this session, Jawaharlal Nehru delivered the Tryst with Destiny speech proclaiming India's independence. Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment, we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity. Tryst with Destiny speech, Jawaharlal Nehru, 15th August 1947. The members of the Assembly formally took the pledge of being in the service of the country. A group of women, representing the women of India, formally presented the national flag to the Assembly. Dominion of India became an independent country as official ceremonies took place in New Delhi. Nehru assumed office as the first Prime Minister and the Viceroy Lord Mountbatten continued as its first Governor-General. Gandhi's name was invoked by crowds celebrating the occasion. Gandhi himself, however, took no part in the official events. Instead, he marked the day with an 24-hour fast, during which he spoke to a crowd in Calcutta, encouraging peace between Hindus and Muslims. Celebrate the free spirit of India. Happy Independence Day.